Okay, so I'm going to show you my process for editing and how to use these actions. Let's see, I'm just gonna, this is like my daughter's playing around, so I'm gonna find an image. Whatever, let's just do this one. Okay, so random picture of my children, but it's still, you know, I can make it look. This is the final of that I did, I don't know, a couple of months ago or weeks ago. So let's go back here. Or is it? No. So I'll start off by applying a preset. I love Lady Tory Lightroom presets, and I use them for everything. So I'll probably use that one. And for this particular picture, I'm going to do a mask on the sky. A sky brush that I've created. That's cool. It's a little blue. It's a little. I don't mind the pink. Bring back that blue, and then we can drag. Let's see. We can either drag the highlights up or let's shadow. And yeah. Okay. I'm fine with that. I like that. So, I mean, I guess at this point I could also do a subject mask, but I mean, it's not really necessary. If they're really dark, I'll do a subject mask, and I have brushes for that as well, but for the purposes of this video, I'm doing Photoshop. So I'm gonna press Control E or Command E if you're on Mac to get it into Photoshop. What are all these? Okay. All right, so the first thing I want to do to this image, I think I want to darken like this around here. I'm kind of doing like some light painting, I guess, for lack of a better word. So I want to paint on darkness, play that action. So I've got my mask selected. My opacity is at 52. I'm going to go ahead and put it at 100 and make sure my brush is set to white. And just kind of like brush around the edges here. Maybe even. There we go. So I kind of made like a little halo around them almost. And also, you know, I think I'm going to just darken all this. Maybe this. Okay. All right, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to run the paint on brightness action, and I'm still at 100, so I'm going to brush on the brightness. That's a bit intense. That's pretty bright. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish painting on this brightness onto my subjects, and then I'm going to turn the opacity down when I'm done. It's pretty bright. We don't want them to look fake. Or like photoshopped in or something. You know what, if I was being really diligent, I would have, in Lightroom, gone to my mask and like subtracted the mask from the fine little details of her hairs. Because sometimes the sky selection tool like also selects the highlights in your subject's hair. And so it'll turn the highlights in her hair or whatever color the sky is, and it makes it look fake. And I think I might see some of that going on, so oh well, whatever. This is just for training purposes. Okay. So I'm going to just turn that opacity down. There we go. That's better. Still dark right here. And instead, since I know I don't like it on the sky, I'm going to, instead of inverting it, I'm just going to paint on where I want these deeper blacks. So it's still a bit much, but I'm going to paint it on where I want it, kind of pretty much where I did the darker stuff earlier. And then I'm going to turn my opacity down on my brush to about half, and I'm going to brush it on them because I like the way it looked. Like, it just gave them some depth, but I don't want them to be as dark as the grass. So I was about to say it didn't do anything. Okay. It's working hard. It's working really hard. Yeah, so I got like this weird like ring around them now, so I'm just gonna like paint with that 50% brush all over everything, my subjects, but not the sky because I don't like the way that looks. Okay. All right, so now we've got that. I'm going to turn the opacity down so it's not so much. Okay, and I can toggle it on and off to see the difference. I mean, yeah, it just like kind of upped the contrast, but like more than that. Just gave it some, well, depth, for lack of a better word. But I didn't like how the action made my sky's highlights brighter. I want to keep that nice sunset vibe going. So, I mean, that is, other than that, at this point, I would like go onto their faces and smooth their skin out and stuff. Actually, I have an action for that too, so I can do that. I'll do that in a second, but I also wanted to show you, like, let's say I wanted to warm this picture up a little bit, which it doesn't really need it, but I have a warm action. So let's say I like what it did to the grass, but now my subjects look way too warm, so I would just use a black brush and brush that warmth off of them. And so the grass is still nice and orangey, but I actually don't like that, so I'm gonna just delete that layer. I also have a cool it action, which I need to fix because I forgot to I didn't do the action right, so I'm going to make a copy of my background, but I'll redo it before I send it to everyone. So that cools it off, which I do like that. I wonder if I just turn it down a bunch. I don't know. Maybe a little bit more. And then I can paint the warmth back onto their faces and their hair. I don't know. I like that. Okay, now I'm going to merge those layers. Another action I have, let's see. Oh yeah, a little brighter. So this is like an overall brightening action. I really like this one. So it does that. Obviously, they're a little too bright, so I would probably paint that off of like the highlights of her face, but that's actually a bit much. Let's do that. And she's not bright enough on her forehead. Could do is just invert it and then see, paint the brightness on her face, and let's see, paint brightness on her hair, maybe there, I don't know, whatever. And then, let's see, do my brush at about half and then paint that brightness into the grass. And maybe on their bodies. I like that. So basically, like really all I'm doing is I'm using these different actions to paint light where I want light and darkness where I want darkness, and I strategically place them to create like almost painterly type of image. So I have several actions for smoothing skin. But I think the one I'm going to give out maybe will be all the blur. I mean, I do have a frequency separation action, but I don't use it that much. Although I might need it right now. They've got crap all over their faces. But let's just try this. I'm going to set my brush at about 34 and then see what that does. Okay. We're making it smooth. So this, you know, it's just like any other, I don't know how many Photoshop actions you all have used in your lifetime, but pretty much what this is it's just a mask and it blurs. Like, so if I inverted this, that's what it looks like underneath. So we're just masking the places we want to be blurry. That's why I set my brush opacity really low, so it doesn't like make it too soft, because obviously that that looks fake. Yeah, I would have to Photoshop off all their, I don't even know, whatever they have on their faces. But that will give you some smooth, creamy skin. That and painting on light onto the skin and making sure that the skin isn't either too orange or too gray. because when you start running actions like warm it and cool it, the skin can get you know, that's why I like using masks. And so, you know, if you want the image cool, but then their skin looks gray, you just brush that right off of their skin and retain their natural skin color. So I would suggest, you know, if you need to, taking snapshots, like after you do each thing, run each action, and as you merge your layers, and just as you work, just take frequent snapshots in case you want to go back and, you know, you're like, oh, what in the world did I do? If you have Topaz denoise, which I use religiously because I shoot in a lot of low light. I love shooting after the sun goes down and during blue hour and for indoor photography. I do have an action. It runs Topaz denoise for you, and you apply it, and then you go back into Photoshop, or it takes you back into Photoshop, and it creates a mask. So you can, you know, if the denoising was too harsh and it made it too soft or fake, you can paint it off of places, you can turn down the opacity or whatever, or if you want to retain some grain, you know, if it was like too grainy and you needed to run denoise on it. I mean, I know you can fix those settings in the software, but it's so freaking slow, and I just don't have time for that in my life. So I made an action. I mean, I don't have portraiture. I basically use denoise instead of portraiture. So if you're interested in that, you can buy that at Topaz Labs AI. I don't know their website. I think it might be topazlabs.com or something. But yeah, that's who makes denoise. And they also have AI software for sharpening and blowing up pictures really big and all sorts of stuff. So, you know, one more thing I'm going to do to this image. I want to paint on darkness again. I do this a lot. Like, I'll run all my actions, do all my things, then I'll be like, I'm going to run that action one more time and do it a little bit more. Because you never know. Okay, so I just, you know, gave it a little extra. You know what? I'm going to hit this right here. It's bothering me. So, obviously this isn't the best image, but you get the idea. And I have a lot of actions, and I'll probably roll them out. But I was just making a video of the most basic ones that I use. You know what? I might include Pop It. That's like the very first action I ever made, and it's actually a pretty good one. I'll run it. I'll show you. So what this one does is it runs a light and a contrast. Makes a light and a contrast layer. So that's what the light does, contrast, and it just gives the whole entire image a pop if it needs that. I haven't been using it lately very much because I made these other actions, but yeah, that's a good one. That's a good action. Anyway, if you have any questions about Photoshop or how to run these actions, just here, let me turn my webcam back on. Just reach out. You know, message me on Facebook, email me, whatever. I'm happy to make more videos, and I will make more videos. I just wanted to show how to run these actions, so.